Today I'm going to be doing my favorite kind of food, one pot stews. Slow cooked, delicious, complex and full of flavor. Okay, 3 interesting recipes, meals in themselves. The first one is an Irish winter stew. Let's get started. I'm just chopping up boneless mutton. Now, very simply, we're going to season our mutton. Pepper, then salt. Very important to season your meat well, right? A well-seasoned piece of meat has infinitely more flavor than something that's a little under-seasoned. So enough salt, and then I'm also going to add a little bit of maida or flour. Now that maida is going to coat our mutton nicely. It's going to dry the surface, which is going to help us brown it. Also, it's going to thicken our sauce, because as the maida cooks out, it's going to, act as a natural thickening agent. All right, mutton done. Next, about 3 potatoes. Now let's get down to cooking this stew. So our pan is nice and hot, right? The olive oil is also now nice and hot. Okay, so I just want to get a nice brown crust on the lamb, okay, for a little bit of depth of flavor. Very, very important when you're doing a stew. Especially an Irish stew like this, you want lots of depth. Absolutely delicious. Nice bit of color, yeah. Caramelization. You can see at the bottom of that pan, you've got all of that nice pan residue or pan juices. That's where all of that flavor is. I'm going to use that beer to deglaze it, pick up all of that flavor and just cook it into that stew. Okay, so my lamb is now nice and brown. Time for us to add our onions. I've got about 3 to 4 onions which I've julienned, right? I'm not going to use all of them. I'm just going to add about 1/4 of these onions. So I would say 1.5 to 2 onions, okay? In they go. 1.5 onions, finely julienned. Now I'm just going to saute the onions until they begin to take on a light golden brown color. Perfect. Next, some cumin. Purely my addition to give it some local flavor. A stick of cassia bark. Then some fresh thyme. Beautiful. One of my favorite herbs to use. Goes well with absolutely anything. So my herbs are in, my spices are in. Now I'm going to season the meat and the onions together. Okay, so a little bit of salt and some pepper. Look at that. Our onions are really beginning to caramelize on the bottom of that pan. Beautiful. Okay, lamb is looking beautiful, really nice and golden. So are the onions beginning to caramelize. I've got a really fantastic amount of pan juices which are just waiting to be kind of deglazed. Yeah, that's where all of that flavor is, all of that meatiness, that depth which you want from a dish like this. Now, time to add our balanced ingredients. So, for a nice bit of punch and pungency, all right, lots of garlic. So 4 cloves of garlic, just bash them to release their juices and then just chop them up. Doesn't have to be too fine. And then all of our potato and our carrots. Again, 2 carrots. Okay, so I'm just going to fry our potatoes with our carrots, our meat, onions, herbs and spices. Fry them all together. Just coat everything with all of those lovely flavors. Then we're going to add our beer and let it cook down. A nice dollop of butter. Right, so in typical Irish tradition and fashion, I have managed to get my hands on a nice dark Irish beer. Right, you can use a Guinness, you can use stout of any kind. The idea is to pack plenty of depth into that stew. All right, and nothing, quite frankly, does it better than a nice dark Irish beer. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. So I've added the beer, about half a bottle to start with, and now I'm just deglazing our beautiful pan. Yeah, all of those meaty, oniony pan deposits, yeah, they are packed with flavor. And you just want to incorporate all of it. Look at that, it's just changed color completely. Yeah, already you've got that very characteristic dark Irish stew color. I'm going to add the rest of that beer. We're going to bring it up to a boil and then turn down the heat and just let it simmer away until that lamb is soft and the potatoes are cooked to perfection. We're just going to cover it. While that's happening, we've got another really special one-pot meal. I'm going to do a mixed vegetable gratin. All right, again, basic technique, really delicious, and something that all of you vegetarians, yeah, and non-vegetarians are going to love. Okay, but for that, we need to make a white sauce. So I'm making, I would think, 2 cups or so of bechamel. So for that, I'm going to need a good 80 to 100 grams of butter. Couple of sprigs of fresh thyme. Okay, just like that, just to infuse that bechamel with some lovely herby flavor. Okay, so my butter has melted nicely. It's time for us to add our flour and make our roux for the bechamel. Roux is basically classic French cookery term for a paste made out of butter and flour, and traditionally it's a roux that is used to thicken a sauce, thicken a gravy, and it also of course forms the base of our bechamel. So we've got 2 tablespoons of flour in there. And as you can see, as soon as I've added that flour, it has thickened, yeah, quite nicely. All right, this can definitely take a little more maida. So I'm going to add now my 3rd tablespoon of maida. The more flour you add, the more liquid you're going to need to add to basically create your sauce. So the ratio, that butter and the flour has formed now a nice thick paste. I'm just going to whisk it a little bit, cook it out. Time for us to add our milk, a little bit at a time. So our bechamel is coming along quite nicely. Time for us to season it. Crack of fresh pepper, some salt, a pinch of nutmeg. White sauce is ready. Time for us to make our vegetable gratin. What is a gratin? Well, it's a classic European dish which is generally baked or finished in an oven. It can be made out of vegetables. You have potatoes, cauliflower, pumpkin, leeks, absolutely anything. The word gratin actually refers to a technique of gratinating under a hot grill. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is preheat my grill. So my oven or grill is heating up. Very important, you preheat it. Okay, I'm going to start by halving our baby potato. Okay, pan is hot. Into this pan, I'm adding a little bit of butter. You can use olive oil, you can use refined oil if you like, but this is the kind of dish that benefits from the flavor of a medium such as butter or oil. Our beautiful baby potato. Lovely parboiled yellow pumpkin. Sweet corn. I'm using frozen sweet corn. Our cauliflower. Now, let's season our vegetables. So, salt to taste. In goes a nice, generous teaspoon and a half of chili flake for heat. A little bit of cumin. Okay, so after our cumin, a little bit of coriander seed, which I'm adding just whole. Okay, I want a very delicate flavor of the coriander. Some more delicious thyme, a little bit of pepper. Right, so our veggies are done. I'm going to turn off the heat. Okay, now it's time for us to transfer them to our baking dish, spoon over the bechamel, grate over that cheese, and then into our grill. So a good tip for making a gratin is that you want all your vegetables to be parboiled, all right, nice and cooked, so that all you're really doing is finishing it in the oven. So I've left a little border around the edges, as you can see, all right. That way you get some of that bubbliness and that kind of difference of color and texture as this thing cooks in the oven, okay? Some of it peeking out from here, some of it peeking out from there. Nice and rustic and really kind of interesting. Okay, let's grate over some cheese. So I've got some processed cheese. I'm going to start with that. Cheesy. Some nice cheddar. Nice and flavorsome. Okay, so a combination of cheeses. To finish it off, over the top, just going to add some thyme, maybe a touch of chili, and a crack of pepper. Okay, let's get our gratin into our oven. When you come back on the other side of the break, we're going to put together our fantastic meal.